Action Research Multimedia Presentation. My problem statement: Behavior Management Strategies and Methods in the Classroom. My statement of core values or worldview. The three core values I chose to address for this assignment are respect, inclusion, and classroom management, behavior management. My initial reason for choosing these values was that I found that they are all essential to the art of teaching. My research paper primarily focused in on the constructivist approach, which was understanding the problem or concern. My statement of the research problem. The research topic I decided to choose was classroom management, with a particular emphasis on behavior management. I knew going into this previous and final teaching block that this was an area that needed the most improvement. I also took this challenge as an opportunity to grow as a teacher. The specific problem related to classroom practice or teaching and learning that I focused in on were strategies and methods that I could use in the event that I had a student or students acting out and misbehaving. The importance of this problem, especially as a beginning teacher, for not only myself, but also for my colleagues, is it is imperative to know the basics of classroom behavior management because it is an aspect in teaching that is prevalent in many classes, if not all classes. My research question. For the purpose of this assignment, I decided to choose a question that not only incorporated my core value and worldview of behavior management, but also my statement of research problem. My refined research question that I addressed was, what strategies and methods can I use in my classroom to encompass the diverse, ongoing learning needs of all the students? Some definitions of central and relevant terms. Discipline. The practice of training people to obey rules or of a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. Classroom management refers to the wide variety of skills and techniques that teachers use to keep students organized, orderly, focused, attentive, on task, and academically productive during a class. When classroom management strategies are executed effectively, teachers minimize the behaviors that impede learning for both individual students and groups of students, while maximizing the behaviors that facilitate or enhance learning. Behavior management includes all of the actions and conscious inactions to enhance the probability people, individually and in groups, choose behaviors which are personally fulfilling, productive, and socially acceptable. Behavior management is a process that guides people to change their actions within a specific context. Behavior management is usually used to change negative behaviors and habits, such as those that occur in education. My first literature summary. This article focused on the constructivist approach, which relies on the idea that learners are actively involved in the learning process and responsible for their own learning. It aims to develop individuals who have multiple viewpoints and advanced problem-solving skills. Three models were used within this approach, and they are as follows: the relational, preventive, and the holistic. The relational model refers to a model where undesirable behaviors are addressed by using rewards or punitive activities. The preventive model is intended to create a classroom setting that is able to foresee and prevent any possible disruptive behavior. The holistic model not only prioritizes the preventive model, but also allows teachers to adopt any action from other models to eliminate undesirable behaviors and situations. These models all aim to reach different needs, and each one of them should be used in classrooms to alleviate inappropriate behaviors. My second literature summary. This summary focused on severely disruptive classroom behaviors which participated in an intervention intended to promote cooperative behavior management. A cooperative behavior management strategy was implemented. The strategy consisted of dividing the class into two teams and rewarding members of the team that had exhibited the highest level of appropriate classroom behavior. It is important to remember that if teachers do choose to use methods such as this one, They need to know the capabilities of their students. Some students may not like this idea, and in turn it may set off another outbreak. Interventions need to facilitate appropriate behavior for all students, not just a select few. In relation to my research question, this intervention is a strategy that could be implemented in the classroom to praise good behavior. The third literature summary. Teachers can successfully promote and develop talk-based learning through interactive group work in any classroom. Talk-based lessons should have a very important place in every classroom, especially in challenging circumstances where social disadvantages can be present. The inclusive approach that has a positive impact on students' motivation and allows them to develop a better self-esteem, incrementing their capacity to learn in a more active, reflexive, and meaningful way. Adopting this approach will contribute to make the school life more motivating, inclusive, and effective for both students and teachers. In relation to my research question, this approach could better allow students to be motivated by positive interaction, which will allow, in turn, lead to a more appropriate behavior in the classroom setting. Using this article as an example, I have learned that if students are engaged and motivated, they will be less likely to cause disruptions or have an outburst in class. For my fourth literature summary, this focused on the theoretical model to explain how novice teachers have a tendency to select and implement differing strategies related to the severity of student behavior. When confronting mild student behaviors, teachers perceive their behavior management strategies to be more effective and reported implementing such strategies with greater consistency. When facing more severe misbehaviors, novice teachers perceive their management strategies to be largely ineffective. This theory supports the prediction that pre-service teachers might benefit most from specific training in dealing with more severe misbehaviors. Using this article, especially as a beginning novice teacher myself, I have learned that it is okay to start off with disciplining minor and mild behaviors and having a solid ground of knowledge before jumping right into the severe and higher levels of inappropriate behaviors. Literature summary number 5. Focused on the 3 overarching schools of whole classroom management: the interventionalist, the internationalist, and the non-interventionalist. The interventionalist approach is the assumption that the children need to be externally controlled in order to learn to behave appropriately. The non-interventionalist approach to classroom management assumes that students are self-regulating and can learn to manage their own behavior. Lastly, the internationalist approach focuses on how teachers create behavior systems in the classroom and how to involve students in creating classroom rules and regulating their personal behavior. This third and final approach is the most logical to use in the classroom because it incorporates both the teacher and the student's point of view. Students work in collaboration with their teacher to create rules and expectations that foster a positive learning environment for everyone involved. In relation to my research question pertaining to behavior management, each one of these approaches uses a different method or strategy of correcting a child's behavior. My research plan, data sources. For this part of the assignment, I chose 3 data sources, which are as follows: anecdotals, journals, both teacher and student, and interviews. I decided to choose anecdotals and journals because I believe that each give me the opportunity to do ongoing research with the behavioral students. As for interviews, I believe that they will give me the chance to speak one-on-one with the student and or their parents to see if their behavior at home is a reflection of how they behave and act in the classroom. Evidently, there are data sources that would not be very fitting for my particular research assignment and or question. For example, samples of student work and standardized test scores would not be beneficial because neither of these sources directly relate to behavior. In addition to this, as a less probable data source, questionnaires would not be helpful because the behavioral student may not answer the questions truthfully. Triangulation, validity, and reliability. As outlined in the previous slides, the 3 data sources I have chosen will all lend themselves to be beneficial in their own way. If I allow students to write journals about their behavior, They will be able to document how they are feeling at that particular time. This will allow me to gather more data from their perspective rather than strictly using the data I collect from my point of view. As per the interviewing strategy, this will permit me to give another view and perspective for my data collection. This will ensure both validity and reliability because I will be able to have the chance to speak with the child's parents, which will give me a better understanding of the situation. The truthfulness and believability will also be more reliable because it is coming from the parent's point of view. Participants and setting. For each of my data sources, the participants that could provide the data for my research would be any past teachers who taught the student, also known as my colleagues, parents, principal, and the CERT. As per the journals and the interviews, I would have the student involved as well because they would be able to shed light on their point of view with regards to the situation. The anecdotals and journals will be collected in the classroom as an ongoing routine. The interviews will take place in either the principal's office or the CERT room. My research plan, data collection procedures. For my timeline chart, I have the anecdotal notes, classroom observations, teacher-student journals, and interviews. How I will collect them and when I will collect them. For anecdotal notes and classroom observations, I plan to do daily and weekly, every day from September to June. For teacher-student journals, I plan to do daily and weekly again, and every day from September to December. And lastly, for interviews, I plan to do it every month or every 60 days, depending on the situation, from October to June. Ethical considerations. The anecdotal records and journals I use to keep for myself will be stored within a folder in a cabinet that will not only be accessible by the teacher. This will ensure privacy for students and keep the information I gather and collect in a safe, well-kept area. As for the interviews that take place, privacy will be noted by having them in an enclosed area, office, and only members who have business being there will be present. I will maintain privacy and confidentiality of my participants by having them complete these journals when the rest of the class is not present. This will ensure that the student feels comfortable in the environment, and they will also be able to write down their thoughts without any distractions. The students' responses will then be placed in the folder and stored away until it is time to write another journal to add to the folder. In addition, all of the information noted and gathered in the interviews will be placed in the folder as a document to reference at any point needed. My final thoughts. Designing this action research study supports my knowledge of teaching because it has allowed me to delve into an area of this profession that I was not 100% comfortable with. I decided to challenge myself by taking on this opportunity to learn more about behavior management. It has taught me that there is so much under the umbrella of teaching that I did not know was attainable or accomplishable by a single teacher. Having completed this assignment, I would like to think that I have a better understanding of how I could implement strategies and methods to alleviate inappropriate behavior in my own classroom. Thanks for listening.